So I've got a lot of historical background when it comes to backpacking. I mean, I'm older than some of the rock layers in the Grand Canyon. I've probably been backpacking, since I was 10, 11 years old. And, as an example of how things change, and it's it's pretty simple. It's just simple math, multiply numbers, divide resources. There's 8 billion people on the planet, and it's not just urban population. The backcountry's full of people and full of people that want to be there as much as you and I. And so we all have to figure out, how to use it. And so, I used to backpack in Glacier before they had a permit system. I'm probably one of the last generations to hike where you want to hike, when you want to hike, just spontaneously go out and hike. My wife and I live in a motorhome, and it's the same way in campgrounds, national parks, national forests. We boondock a lot, but if we want to be like in Big Bend, you've got to get a permit to backpack. You got to get a campsite. You got to get a reservation to get a campsite, and you better do it well in advance. I went to Isle Royale in June, and because last year I tried to go out there in August, I couldn't get on the boat. But anyway, the evolutionary process. So I was in Glacier, I used to backpack there, no permit. Then the permit system came in. Of course, then that takes a staff to run. And so then they had a fee to pay that staff to get a permit. And then they went to a reservation system because the permits were in such demand. And of course, to have a reservation system, you have to have a staff. So there's a fee for the reservation, and then a fee for the permit, and then it slowly erodes. So again, I'm an old guy. I used to get half price because I had the old guy card, and they took that away. And so anyway, that's a problem not just in Glacier; it's everywhere. I just did, that 220-mile section of the North Country Trail from Munising, Michigan to the Mackinac Bridge. So my first problem is the national park, Pictured Rocks. And I've hiked there a lot, but, I tried a couple of years ago to go, and, I called like in June, and, now I'm dealing with somebody in a cubicle in New York. And they tell me, well, to sleep under a tree in Michigan, you've got to wait till September. We don't have any trees available for you right now. And so for me, it's not a big problem because I can hike 30 miles a day. And, the lighter you get, really the farther you can go, which is really another video, which really cuts down on food and water and everything else because you're moving faster and coming onto sources earlier. But in this case, I leave Munising, Michigan. I've got to do 27 miles, which is pretty flat hiking, but it's beautiful right along the cliffs of Lake Superior. Just a beautiful, probably one of the most beautiful sections of the North Country Trail. Anyway, I've got to do 27 miles to get to a place called the Fox River Pathway, because the national park, if you look at a map, is only about this wide. And so when I get to that pathway, I can go south about 1.5 miles, 2 miles, and I'm going to hit the boundary of the park, and I'm on state land, and then I can legally camp there. So that's what I do. I do a 29-mile day just to get in there. But I've got lots of light. It's not like I'm killing myself. If you do 2 miles an hour, you've got plenty of light to get your miles in. And then the next day I can come back to the trail, and I've got about 18 miles to get out of the park, and I'm golden. And so, again, same thing with Glacier. I don't have a problem getting a permit in Glacier because I can do big miles, and I know the park so well. You get to a ranger station in the early morning, because you can make a trip plan same day. If you want to be a day ahead or a week ahead or a month ahead, then you got to do the reservation system, which means There's no connection there. You have to go out of the park, find a connection, go online, get a reservation if you can. But you're in line at one station. There's several stations in the park that same morning that have a line, and you're all on the same computer system. So when you go into that office to get an itinerary, have several. I'm serious, have several, and know your campgrounds and know the distances. And so when they say you can't do that, you can't do that, you just rattle off the next one, because all those other offices are filling up that computer at the same time, and you want to be quick as a bunny to get a permit to do the hike you want to do. And the more miles you can do, the more options you're going to have for campgrounds. And that's, again, I'm just using Glacier as an example. Every place is about the same. So I'll wrap this video up, but I just wanted to say I did get my hands on a Durston X-Mid one-person solid, and it should be here tomorrow. So my wife and I are getting ready to head west, but I'm kind of waiting for some nice fall weather when the trees just are ablaze with color. And I'd like to find some really nasty, windy weather to try that tent out. But as I do, I'll put some reviews and some videos up. I'm kind of excited to get it. Keep smiling.